Picture this. Two coworkers, same company, same starting salary, same week on the job. They both get the same raises over the next 5 years. Same income, same city, same opportunities. Now it's year 5. They're both 35. One of them drives a new $55,000 pickup. New apartment, new wardrobe, takes the trips, posts the photos. From every angle, this guy looks like he's winning. The other one is still driving his 2017 Honda. Brown bag lunch most days, nothing flashy. Honestly, if you saw him at the office, you might feel a little bad for the guy. So here's the question. Which one has more money? I pulled up the numbers. The guy with the Honda, net worth $178,000. The guy with the truck, net worth $11,400. Same salary. 5 years, $166,000 gap. And it's not an accident. It's math. And once you see the math, you will never be able to unsee it. My name is Joey, and on this channel, I want to teach you how to save, invest, use, and grow your money so you can have more freedom and retire earlier without depending on the government. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. Here's the uncomfortable truth about high earners in America right now. A lot of them are completely underwater. Roughly 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That number is bad, but here's the one that should actually stop you cold. Around 40% of people earning 6 figures, $100,000 a year or more, are also in that group. 2 out of every 5 people making good money finish the month with basically nothing left. Researchers have a name for this, the Henry Trap. High earner, not rich yet. It is the most expensive prison most people never realize they're in, because the bars are made of nice things. And the gap between what people earn and what they actually own, their net worth, is staggering. The real middle of America, the median household net worth, sits at around $192,000. The number you usually see reported is over $1 million, but that's the average, and it gets dragged upward by a handful of ultra-wealthy households. The honest picture is $192,000. For households under 35, the median is around $39,000. So you have millions of people earning real money, living in nice apartments, driving impressive trucks, posting curated weekends, and quietly owning almost nothing of lasting value. The image of wealth is everywhere. The actual wealth is in a much smaller number of places. Here's the other thing the numbers show. The personal savings rate in America sits at about 4.5% right now. Historically, Americans used to save closer to 8 or 9%. We've cut it roughly in half while spending more than we ever have. And more than half of American adults say they could not cover a $1,000 emergency from savings. A quarter say they have no emergency cushion at all. That is the real financial situation humming under a lot of those gleaming car payments and kitchen renovations. The stage looks great. The backstage is a mess. Okay, let's run the numbers, because this is where the strategy either makes sense or it doesn't. And I want you to walk out of this video with a calculation you can't ignore. Start with the single most visible status symbol in America, the car. The average price paid for a new vehicle hit over $50,000 in late 2025. The average monthly payment climbed to nearly $770 a month. And lenders are now stretching loan terms past 7 years just to make those payments feel manageable. Here's what $770 a month actually costs you. Not now, later. If you take that same $770, invest it every single month in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, and leave it alone for 30 years, at the long-run average return of around 7% after inflation, you end up with over $900,000. Read that again slowly. Your car payment is a $900,000 decision, not a transportation decision. Not a lifestyle decision, a nearly 7-figure decision you made in a dealership in about 45 minutes. Now, you might be thinking, but Joey, I need a car. Sure, a reliable used car costs a fraction of that. The decision isn't really car or no car. The decision is how much of your future you're willing to trade for the version that impresses the people in the parking lot. There's a second price tag on every status purchase, and it's the one nobody puts on the window sticker. Every dollar locked into looking wealthy is a dollar that can never go to work actually becoming wealthy. Economists call it opportunity cost. I call it the invisible price tag. You pay twice, once at the register, and once in the compound interest you'll never earn. And the younger you are, the more violent the math gets. A 25-year-old choosing the $770 payment instead of investing is making a radically different decision than a 45-year-old. That money has decades longer to compound.
They're not just buying a truck. They're purchasing roughly a decade of extra working years and handing the bill to a future version of themselves who never got a vote.
The car is the most obvious example, but the same math runs through every category. Americans are carrying $1.67 trillion in auto loan debt right now. Credit card balances crossed $1.25 trillion. Total household debt just topped $18 trillion. A meaningful share of that is not survival debt. It's performance debt. It's the ongoing cost of a costume. Here's the number that quietly explains everything. Your savings rate predicts your future wealth better than your income does. A high earner who saves almost nothing ends up poorer in retirement than a modest earner who quietly kept and invested a real slice of everything. The faucet does not decide who gets wealthy. What you do with the water does. So if the math is this obvious, why do smart people who've heard this stuff before, keep doing it? Because this was never really about the car. We've been wired since birth to read status signals. For most of human history, those signals carried real survival information. Who had resources, who was worth aligning with. That instinct is still fully operational. It just got hijacked. You're not buying a truck. You're buying a sentence. A specific sentence you hope other people say about you when you pull into the parking lot. The trouble is, the people you're performing for are performing right back. Everyone's in costume, too focused on their own outfit to really clock yours. And then there's the treadmill. You get the new car, you feel the lift. For about 3 weeks. Then that car becomes your baseline, your normal, and the lift is gone. So you reach for the next upgrade to feel the same thing. The scenery doesn't change because you're running in place. It accelerates with your income too. That's lifestyle inflation. A raise hits and the brain says, time to upgrade. The apartment feels too small. The car feels outdated. The old version of yourself suddenly feels embarrassing. The higher your income, the faster the treadmill runs. And somehow you still end up exactly where you started. Now, here's the cruelest piece, and almost nobody names it. One nice purchase quietly obligates a dozen more. You get the expensive couch, and suddenly the rug looks wrong. The rug goes, then the curtains, then the coffee table that doesn't match the new vibe. One upgrade sets a new baseline, and everything around it has to rise to meet it. The same dynamic hits at a bigger scale when you move into the nicer neighborhood. The unspoken pressure arrives uninvited. The kind of car that belongs in that driveway. The vacations the other families take. The renovation you now feel like you're behind on. The most expensive part of any purchase is often everything it quietly forces you to buy next. So what do the genuinely wealthy actually do? Because this isn't theory. There's research on it. In a landmark study of American millionaires, the average car buyer ties up about 1/3 of their net worth in vehicles. Actual millionaires? About 1%. Fewer than 1/4 were even driving a current year model. They buy used, they buy quality, they drive it until it stops, and they almost never finance it. One survey of households earning over $250,000 a year found that 61% were not driving luxury brands. Hondas, Toyotas, Fords, the same cars in your neighbor's driveway. Someone clearing $250,000 a year could clearly afford the badge. The majority simply chose not to wear it. Around 80% of millionaires are first-generation rich. They built it themselves. And about 69% never average six figures in a single year across their whole career. Ordinary incomes, unusual discipline. That's the actual story.
Here's the playbook. 6 moves you can act on starting this week. 1. Decouple your income from your identity. When a raise lands, don't upgrade. Let the old life hold exactly as it is and route the difference straight into investments. A raise is not permission to spend more. It's a chance to widen the gap between what you earn and what you live on. That gap, not the salary, is the thing that eventually becomes freedom. 2. Pay yourself first, automatically. Set an automatic transfer to your investment account the same day your paycheck arrives, before you see it, before you spend it, before life has a chance to absorb it. Most people try to save whatever survives to the end of the month, which is almost always nothing, because life expands to fill available spending. The wealthy flip the sequence. Investment comes out first. They build their life around what remains. 3. Make saving effortless, spending difficult. Delete the shopping apps. Remove the saved card numbers. Unsubscribe from promotional emails. Put a 24-hour waiting period between wanting something and buying it.
Most impulse urges die on their own if you refuse to act on them in the moment. The trick is not to be stronger than temptation, it's to remove the temptation before it shows up. 4. Drive it till it dies. The fastest way to leak real money is to replace things that still work because a newer version exists or because boredom crept in. Before any purchase, estimate how many times you'll realistically use the thing. Divide the price by that number. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 every time you put it on. A solid jacket worn 200 times costs pocket change per wear. Run that math honestly, and most impulse purchases collapse immediately. 5. Define enough before the money arrives. High earners get trapped because they never set a finish line. Every raise just shoves the target further out. They earn more, expect more, and feel just as stretched at $300,000 as they did at $80,000. The wealthy decide in advance what a genuinely sufficient life looks like, a number that truly covers the life they want, and let every dollar above that level flow into building the tank. A person who decides $65,000 a year is truly enough and then earns well past it builds wealth at a pace that looks almost unfair from the outside.
6. Mute the comparison feed. A massive share of the pressure to look rich doesn't come from your actual life. It pours out of a screen showing you a curated highlight reel of people performing a prosperity most of them can't sustain. You are not keeping up with the wealthy. You are keeping up with other stretched people who happen to be good at lighting and angles. The genuinely wealthy measure progress against their own goals, not a stranger's feed. You can borrow that immunity. Curate what you let in, and the urge to spend your way into belonging gets quieter almost on its own. Here's what I want you to take from this. Looking modest is not a sign of struggle. For the people who understand the game, it's the calling card of someone who already won and chose not to announce it. The Honda isn't the car of someone who couldn't afford better. It's the car of someone who understood that the goal was never to look free. The goal was to actually be free.
Every flashy purchase is a trade. You're exchanging future options for present appearances. Sometimes that trade makes sense. Most of the time it doesn't. And once you see it that way, you can't unsee it. If this landed for you, subscribe to the channel. Every week, I break down the real math behind money so you can stop following advice and start actually understanding why it works. And if you want to go deeper on how to set up that automatic investing system, the right accounts, the right funds, the order that makes it compound the fastest, that's exactly what's coming in the next video. I'll see you there.